All
and
right.
welcome to anybody that might be here.
Okay.
Of course, it's a little early yet, I suppose.
But well, it's kind of well, not really. Well, kind of. You're right. It is kind of early, an hour earlier, because in an hour from now, I'm going to be a part of Real Spuck TV with a Minnesota Vikings fan and Minnesota Silver Bowl hunter there, and God knows what's going to happen on that program. And
Yeah,
as you could tell, ladies and gentlemen, by the thumbnail we are using tonight, I guess on Mike's end, do you have any thumbnails on your end?
yeah, actually, I have Bill Haley in the comments, I believe.
All right, it got me a little 50s collage of all the acts from the 1950s, including Elvis, Bobby Darin, Harry Belafonte, then Buddy Holly and the Crickets, and of course Fats Domino. And tonight we're discussing the 1950s music scene back then. This was when the genre known as rock and roll really started to kick in, full swing. And we got there are a lot of pioneers out there who definitely need to be acknowledgement, not just Elvis Presley. That's the first thing to come up. That's the first thing to come into mind, as you could tell. And plus, we also got to remember that we also got other acts like with the Everly Brothers. Nat King Cole was still functioning at that time, as well as Harry Belafonte. Bobby Darin with Split Splash. I was taking a bath. Mac the Knife.
And Chuck Berry.
Oh yeah, many considered the father of rock and roll with his songs like "Roll Over Beethoven," his classic "Johnny Be Good," and of course my personal favorite from him was called "Maybelline."
Yeah, in
Um,
Memphis.
Memphis, that's right. School days. What it was, I learned about Chuck Berry on an album called Twist, which was a collection of all his recordings there, including, of course, the ones I mentioned. The song Maybelline was just like it was like a trip for me because it was like the sound, the beats, the guitar playing he did. It was like original. It's like I like this. This was a pretty damn good song here. That's still one of my favorites because it's about, I guess, getting caught in some sort of a driving issue, for what I understand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what. Excuse me. That's what I
yeah,
kind of understand too.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, he was definitely a pioneer.
yeah. And sadly, he departed from us. I guess last year, if I'm correct. Was it 2019 that he left? I guess
I
departed from
I
us.
believe that's correct.
Yeah, a lot of tributes out there for this guy because, as I mentioned, he was like the one of the main pioneers of rock and roll, the father of rock and roll, according to, of course, Wolfman Jack, and
Yeah.
of course, he was one of the main influences for John Lennon of the Beatles.
Yep.
In fact, here's a little bit of story when I got to address up here. Barry actually sued the Beatles for the song "Come Together." Apparently, Barry had another song that he wrote and recorded that was very similar to "Come Together," but was apparently recorded prior to "Come Together" being recorded. So he did take him to court to that, and I don't know the results of that. But good old John Lennon, as he was, said in that "Forgive and Forget." He invited Chuck Berry on when he was co-host when Lennon was co-hosting the Mike Douglas show along with Yoko Ono. They did a couple of improv jams together, including Johnny Be Good.
Yeah, it's Chuck Berry was also involved in something with Sweet Little 16, I think it was,
Yes, it was
and the Beach
absolutely.
Boys,
Oh yeah,
because
yeah.
their song was a Surfing Safari or Surfing USA. One of them
Oh,
sounded absolutely like Sweet Little 16.
oh yeah. Probably Surfing USA, most likely. I'm thinking.
I think that's right.
Yeah, because so it needs to say that Barry influenced the Beach Boys just as well as the Beatles and a lot of
Absolutely.
others. In fact, of course, we can't forget Rockin' and was it Reelin' and a Rockin', which
Oh yeah.
I remember the awesomeness that is George Thorogood did live a few times to his excellency. no doubt that Thorogood thrived on those records that Chuck Berry did because he would get a guitar similar to Chuck Berry's. He would also, but the difference is, I guess, Berry played with a pick, and George Thorogood used his hand to pick his strings with.
Yeah, I've tried both ways, and for me, the hand is just a little harder. I'd
I
rather
know.
use a pick.
Same here at times. Well, I can only use the hand picking a couple of occasions when I want to strum some chords together. Just for the heck of it when I'm fiddling around.
Oh yeah, in that situation, that's a little different.
Yeah, it is.
And we also had Jerry Lee Lewis.
Oh yeah, the Hellraiser himself. I guess he was recalled, Mister Great Balls of Fire, as well as Little Richard,
Yeah,
who passed away earlier this year as well. I guess.
yeah. Of course, I guess his biggie was Tutti Frutti. Of course, he
Tutti
had
Frutti,
others, but
good golly, Miss Molly, a couple others as well, which poor, of course, Paul McCartney would emulate, and when they did this stuff, like some of his stuff.
yeah, yeah. Then you had Chubby Checker, who we discussed before.
Yeah,
The one everybody remembers from Happy
the
Days
tw-
is
the
Blueberry Hill.
twist, blue, yeah. Now that's Fats Dynamo.
Oh, that's right. You're right, right,
Chubby Checker had the twist.
right.
Yeah, which of course you remember back in '87. I don't know. Actually, it was the '88 or '89. The Fat Boys, that hilarious rap group there, did a cover with a collaboration on the new version of the Twister. But I'm sorry, that just didn't cut my cheese. So unfortunately, there. I mean, why have him as a backup singer on the new original material, but not remaking an old song, as you could say.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of times, not always, but a lot of times the covers aren't as good as the original. However,
Yeah,
I've heard some covers that actually beat the original, but that's kind of rare.
yeah, very rare. If you're going to do a cover, ladies and gentlemen, please add a little bit of yourself into it as well. The only one I remember was, I guess, what's that guy, soap opera guy's name? I forgot his name, but he did a cover of "Rock On," the David XX tune. But that's another time and place there. It was for a
Right,
movie, I guess, if I remember there.
right.
Yeah,
Then we
and
also
I get,
had Bill Haley and the Comets, who
oh
a
yeah,
lot of people attribute Rock Around the Clock as being the first true rock and
real
roll.
real rock and roll song that make it out there. And I guess it was the original theme for the Happy Days television show when it first started on ABC in the '70s. There,
Yeah, before they wrote the new one, the first season, I believe, maybe
yes,
the second season,
yeah.
but definitely the first season. That was the opening song.
And by the way, I don't know if it's on YouTube or not. You should probably check out Bad Company's Paul Rogers doing his cover of that song. Performed his version for the second Karate Kid movie and back in '86, which I remember listening to, which is pretty damn good.
Yeah, like I said, some covers are good, and some actually improve on the song.
Yeah,
And we'll cover some of those a little later because I can
yeah.
think of a couple off the top of my head.
Hmm.
As much as I like Bruce Springsteen, Manfred Mann's Earth Band did two songs of his that were actually superior to Bruce Springsteen's version.
Yeah, and still played on the radio. Well, one of them still played on the radio to this day. Blinded by the Light, which we all know like the back of our hands, and of course another one called For You, which came out in '81 there, which
Well,
was
let's
massively played on the radio back then.
let's talk about a third one. Then was Spirits in the Night.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, and that one gets very rarely played, believe it or not.
Yeah, and it's actually a very good song. But
Yeah, it is.
we'll talk about those when we get to what's that, the 80s,
'80s and the
70s.
'70s
Yeah,
there. We should probably devote a special show to the best or worst cover songs of all time. I'm thinking
yeah,
probably that.
yeah. That's a good idea. We'll do that too. Of course, that's going to take a little bit of research,
Yeah,
but
lots of them. A lot of
there
memories
are
to
a
back
ton
it
of
up
them
as
back
well.
there. And
Yeah.
then we also have the late great Buddy Holly.
Oh yeah.
To talk about
Yes,
a guy
buddy.
that got his songs covered,
Yeah, a lot.
ton of them.
Yeah.
A lot of his stuff got covered by as
Peggy
many people
Sue.
as the Beatles.
Yeah.
Words of love,
Yep.
like you said, Peggy Sue. That'll be the day. Oh man, yeah, I can go on and on about the songs he
Yeah.
had. He had some good ones.
And
In
he's
fact,
from Lubbock. And he's from Lubbock, Texas, where I understand as well.
I believe so. Yes,
Yeah.
he was
Because
definitely
he,
a Texas boy.
yeah, definitely. So he's deserves to be up there along with Stevie Ray Vaughan and Pantera when it comes to Texas rock and roll there.
Yeah,
Along also with the band, the Hellstar as well.
yeah, and I don't know if you knew them or not. Sir Douglas Quintet was
Oh
from
yeah,
Texas.
I remember hearing the name years back. I remember seeing them perform on a program called Fridays, which was ABC's rivalry to Saturday Night Live, and that was
Yep.
back in around 81, 82. And the magazine I was reading it at the time, which was called Cream, had a few features on them in the back of the day there.
Yeah, they're a '60s band, so we will talk about them when we get to the
Yeah.
'60s.
Yeah.
Then there was Carl Perkins who did Blue Suede Shoes.
Yep. Which is also covered by the Beatles as well.
Right. And I'm trying to remember, was he the one that did Summertime Blues?
Um,
No,
Gene
that's somebody.
Vincent.
No, no, no.
Gene Vincent.
Gene Vincent didn't do
Eddie
Summertime.
Cochran. That's the
That's
one
it.
who did.
That's it. Yeah,
Yeah,
Eddie
Eddie
Cochran.
Cochran did Summertime Blues.
And boy, that was a cover that was radically different.
Yeah, it was. But like the cover up, I remember that version being covered both by the Who from Live at Leeds,
Right.
as well as this psychedelic power trio called
Blue
Blue
Cheer.
Cheer.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember hearing that as well.
Boy, when that first came out, I was like, whoa. But
That's the
oh,
hype. But then again, Blue Cheer was not one of those, the fancy, so trippy, let's get high on LSD type of guys. They were more like, in their words, they were basically like, instead of eating flowers and kissing babies, it was vice versa.
right.
Kissing flowers and eating babies.
Yeah. Then you had the Coasters.
Oh, yeah. I guess with Charlie Brown, that one song, and a
Yeah,
couple others.
that's their big one.
hmm And of course, so Harry Belafonte, he was included on this
Oh
with his
yeah.
song Dale and a couple others.
Yeah. And you mentioned Bobby Darin.
Yes, that's right. Splish Splash. I was taking a bath. My dad had one of his records there. I think it was called The Bobby Darin Story. It had some narration between the songs,
Yeah.
which is which, I understand.
Then you had Richie Valens.
One of the first Latin rock and roll performers out there to emerge with La Bamba, Donna, and also we got to include this one, the song "Ooh My Head," which, as we know, would later be remade by Led Zeppelin under the name "Boogie with Stu."
Right.
And what they did is that they did their version of it, and what they did is they shared songwriting credits with Valence's mom. It's a play listed as Paige Bonham Plant Jones and Mrs. Valance. So Richie Valence's mother definitely received a lot of
Right.
royalties for their unexpected version of her son's song there.
Right. And then one of my
Yeah.
personal favorites from that time, excuse me, Roy Orbison. He did a
Oh yeah,
lot of good material.
yeah,
Uh,
oh yeah. A lot of classic material, which is still regarded as his best today. Blue Velvet as well, which later became the title of the David Lynch movie.
right. And
Crying.
yeah, Crying was the one I really liked by him. And
And of course, we cannot forget the almighty Old Pretty Woman.
right. And Candyman. Uh,
Candyman, yep.
well, shoot.
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah.
Head. In
Uh,
Dreams, Only the
in
Lonely.
Dreams, yeah. Yes, exactly. And he was one of the first guys to really come out and sport the shades a lot. That's
Right.
when I guess was it his gimmick or was he nearsighted?
I think he had some eye troubles.
Hmm Which explains the shades that he wore all the time. Kind of like a predecessor before Andrew Eldritch of the Sisters of Mercy, which later on in the '80s would
And
only be
And
John
John Kay
Cave.
of the Steppenwolf. And
Yeah.
he actually had eye problems.
Yeah, I remember reading about that as well. He was like legally blind back at his native Germany when he was a young boy.
Yeah, and escaping caused him eye problems.
Oh yeah, that's something there.
Then you had Blue Bayou, which became a big Linda Ronstadt song, actually.
Yes, I remember that was played a lot on these soft rock stations back at that period around the 70s and 80s and stuff there.
And then
And
there was Sweet Dreams. That was a good one.
oh yeah,
In fact, one of the bands I was in, we covered that song.
oh yeah, that's good. When Roy Orbison's still considered one of the great icons here. I think
Oh, yeah.
when you think of, I mean, when you think about it, he kept pushing on. He was really on a massive comeback before his passing.
Yeah,
He
he
just
had,
his
he wrote,
the song he's had the Blue Velvet featured in the movie of the same title. He had did there his version with of Crying with K.D. Lang for I guess for another movie. I think it was called Wild at Heart. Correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I believe that
I
was
believe
another
that's
David
correct.
Richmond. Yeah,
And then he had a new song. It was the 80s or the 90s.
it was the '80s.
That was a big hit too. It was
Yeah,
new.
yeah, it was You Got It.
Right.
Yeah, produced by ELO's Jeff Lynne, and it's safe to say that Jeff Lynne learned some of his musical styles and songwriting from Roy Orbison, hence the ELO song "Telephone Line."
Yeah, and actually, Roy Orbison played with Jeff Lynne
The
in the Traveling Wilburys
the
for a while.
traveling Woolberries. That's right,
That was
George
definitely a
Harris.
super group.
Oh yeah, Bob Dylan, Tom Petty, Jeff Lynne, George Harrison, and of course Roy Orbison. They had that one record come out. I guess it was called Volume Three. I guess or Volume Two. I think it was Volume One. I think it was, and the
Yeah,
song "Handle with Care."
yeah, and we'll
That
talk
was a
more about
massive
them
hit.
at that time because "Handle with Care" is a great song.
Yeah, still played today on
Yep.
classic rock
Yeah.
stations. There,
And then of course there's Gene Vincent, which what was his
one of
song?
the big rock and roll rockabilly pioneers. When you think about it, one of the guys who influenced the Stray
What's funny because he released a song.
other rock.
There's a story that he released his big hit. I forgot the name of it off the top of my head. But when he released it, people were going
Uh-huh.
around telling Elvis, "Hey, congrats on your new song. It's really good." And Elvis said, "What are you talking about?" He said that new song in the Bebopalula, I believe. Is that the name?
Oh yeah, I remember that one. That
And
was
he
a
said,
great
"What are you
song.
talking
My
about?"
ma had that collect. My ma had that 45 in her own collection there.
And he found
Definitely.
out later that Gene Vincent had released that, and he sounded so much like Elvis that people thought it was Elvis, which is
That
kind of
has happened a
amusing.
few times. That has happened to other artists a few times in the past. Like, would you believe it? Because sometimes the artists do sound similar to one another.
Yeah, it's just the way it is.
Yeah. And also, we got to include the band of Blasters. You may remember that group from back in the early 80s.
Yeah,
They were considered influenced by Gene Vincent and his stuff there.
right.
I think I bring up this story. One of the members of the Blasters, I think it was Dave Alvin, the lead guitarist, the one who played that awesome looking Fender Mustang guitar. He told this story on a interview program. I think it was the IRS's The Cutting Edge back in the 80s when that used to air on the old original MTV.
Right.
At that time, Gene Vincent was not himself at that time when Dave Alvin went and saw him. And it's a kind of a heartbreaking story. Apparently, he went and saw Gene Vincent play, do his show. And apparently, according to Alvin, he was trying to recreate that magic, trying to reestablish that fixture that he had in the past. He was trying to recreate that image, that wild image that he was.
Right.
But I guess that, if I understand, Gene Vincent had fallen into that drinking drugs route that so many artists have fallen into, like Elvis, who we got to talk about later on.
Sid Barrett.
And that Sid Barrett from Pink Floyd, yes, definitely. And then during the performance, Dave Albin mentioned this one moment where a woman and a child came up on stage and said, and then Vincent got on the mic and said, nothing matters more to me than my wife and my child, blah, 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 and all that stuff there. Later on that evening, Dave Albin found out that the woman and child that joined Gene Vincent on stage really wasn't his wife or kid. They were paid by the management to make an appearance,
Wow.
to give Gene Vincent that wholesome family image.
Right.
Because Gene Vincent's wife had apparently left him.
Man.
Yeah. And then a couple of days later, after that, he saw that show. Dave Albin said that's when Gene Vincent died.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. But then again, a lot of these artists who are from the back in the days fell into hard times later on in the 60s and the 70s, so I understand as well.
Yeah.
So because when the scenes change, when the new style comes in, the people from the old scene are often pushed to the side. I mean, I can name and they often turn to drugs or alcohol or whatever they can to either keep going or try to take away the stress that they were going through at that time. I know a lot of 80s bands were going through that. I mean, two particular come to mind, Jeannie Lena, the band Warrant, and Kevin DeBro of Quiet Riot. I mean, they were like pushed way aside, and they had to resort to playing bowling alleys and clubs, small clubs. The second time I saw Quiet Riot perform, the first was back in 1983 when they were opening for Black Sabbath at Cobo Arena in Detroit. The second time was in '94, was actually '91 or '93 when they were playing to a half-empty venue. It was
Wow.
the Ritz nightclub in Roseville, Michigan. I mean, like, come on. But it was it was kind of sad, very sad.
Yeah.
Think about it. So that I guess that the drugs and the alcohol are there to help, you know, make the artists feel better because deep down there, they're bumming inside. It's like, geez, they had a number one record years back, and now they got to go back to where they start.
And nobody's interested. Yeah.
Hardly anybody, because but then again, half the people out there who turned their backs on those artists weren't really fans to begin with. They were just there because it was the trending song or the scene at that moment.
Right. And then they'll desert
Yeah,
them because something else catches their interest.
exactly. Followers. Followers. That's what these people are called, you know.
Yeah.
So, rest in peace, Gene Vincent said that he passed away like he did. I understand, but I guess a lot of artists have been finding themselves, I guess, during around the time when they did tours, they have to do multiple what they call package tours. Like
Right.
we saw often see those many times, like the Stars of Yesterday, or Fats Domino live, the Turtles with Flo and Eddie.
Yeah, and they'll come out and do
This
three songs and they're done. That sort of thing.
or actually or a half hour or a full hour or 45 minutes actually there.
Yeah, it's pretty
I know
similar
that's
to when 9/11 happened. I went and saw one of the shows for that because
yeah,
they played in Dallas and it was they had like 10, 15 different people and they'd come out and do a
yes.
song or two songs. They went off the next one to come out and do a song, two songs. I mean, it was a weird
Damn.
concert. It really was.
Weird. That
Yeah.
was, but that's it. How long? What kind? That's kind of like a short set for those guys.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a couple of them did three, I think, but I need
Damn.
to look up who was there because from what I understand, they only did that in two venues, and I happened to be at one of them.
So what was the purpose? Couldn't they just do their full sets, or was there too many acts and not enough time for to do their
Well, there's,
full set? There?
well, there was too many acts, and they were trying to do
Yeah.
a benefit for 9/11, the victims of
I see.
9/11, and all these guys wanted to get in on it, so
Yeah.
that's what
So,
happened.
but basically, it was also do the main hits and nothing else, and leave.
It's pretty much all they did was their main hits.
I
It
see
was,
there.
yeah, and I'll look up the list when we get to there and see who all was there. I can remember some of them,
Yeah.
but they were so many of them I can't remember all of them.
Wow. Wow. That's something there.
But some of the songs that were popular back here that we didn't mention so far, there was Earth
Hmm.
Angel by the Penguins.
Yep. Which
Uh,
New Edition, which the group New Edition would cover for an album called Under the Cherry Moon.
yeah,
And that
and
album was a collection of covers by, I guess, of all those black singing groups from the 1950s, like the Coasters, the Platters, and a couple others
yeah,
as well.
yeah, and I'll mention the Elvis songs when we get to Elvis, probably
All
next
right.
time.
All
The
right.
great, then there was the Great Pretender by the Platters.
Yep. Which Freddie Mercury would later cover Excellency, I guess, on what I don't know, it was a solo disc or something like that, but he definitely did a great job on that one if you ever take the time to listen to it.
And then there was Fever by Peggy Lee. That was a pretty big song.
Oh yeah, it's still big to this day. I mean, you should probably check out Madonna's version. I remember hearing that seeing a video for that a couple of times.
And of all people,
Well,
the McCoys covered that song and did a pretty good job.
oh, nice. First time I heard that song, it was a thing that it was a skit where it was a little skit on the Benny Hill show from the 1970s.
Oh yeah,
Benny Pro in the skit, there was the lady was going to sing "Fever." It had playing the acoustic bass. The other guy was in the back. All of a sudden, Benny Hill comes out and said, shh, 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 "I got no drums. I got no drums." So I had to use part of his voice, to or sound effects from his voice, to make up for the drums and all as well. So that's when I first discovered that song until I found out. I guess what that song was other used in other things like Fever, it was commercials, a couple other movies. I'm getting tongue tied here,
well,
folks. You got to think of me.
it gets used a lot actually. Then you
Yeah,
had this is one I know you'll know, Tequila
yeah.
by the Champs,
Oh
and
yeah.
where we hear
Oh
that one.
dude, who hasn't heard that one, man? Feature, of
And
course, revived, no doubt revised again in the movie Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
yeah, got to see the Pee Wee dance to that song.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh gosh. And was the members of this group Mexican, if I understand?
I believe so. And from what I
Yeah.
understand, they kind of wrote the song by accident. They were just kind of sit there
Hmm.
fooling around and jamming, and one of the guys started playing something, and everybody else going, "Hey, that's pretty cool. Let's try this with it." And next thing you know, they did Tequila.
Yep. Tequila. Gosh. And who doesn't want to? And what better choice than to listen to that song while you're actually drinking tequila?
Yeah, probably so.
I'll bet you right now that the tequila companies out there are probably they their businesses went skyrocketing after that song came out. I guess.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
Then you had Connie Francis who did "Who's Sorry Now."
Oh yeah.
That was big.
Definitely one of her biggest songs there.
Then Lloyd Price did "Personality," which that was
Uh
a
huh.
pretty song.
Oh yeah. I hear that. I think that was used in a couple of either commercials or some other bits in the 1970s. So I understand. I can't remember which or when where.
Yeah. Then let's see, what else do we have here? "Smoke Gets in Your Eyes" by the Platters.
Oh yeah. Again
And
with the Platters, got to give them those. Yeah. I think it is still together. I understand, but I think they perform Christian music.
yeah, and they probably don't have many of the original members left because those guys would be in their 70s,
Well,
I would
unable to
think.
move or either passed on. Probably. I'll bet you right now it's all original, different members than the original. So I understand, right?
Probably. I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised. And then
because and
Stagger
because I
Lee.
got to mention.
Go ahead.
Oh God, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I got to bring this up. You also, this is one of the good reasons why you need to have a good management by your side that's not going to screw you over and take shit from you. Because a lot of these times, and the same thing with the coasters, I remember hearing on a news program one time, something like not Inside Edition, a lot of these managers get control of the name, and they can have whichever members they want pose as the coasters, as the original coasters, and they're probably doing the same thing with the so-called original platters, even though they're not original. Because a lot of times at that time, managements really ripped off a lot of those acts,
Yep. Yep.
a lot of them. Because so it bets. So anybody out there who hopes to get signed with a big management, get themselves a record deal or a sign or whatever contract, please read that sucker very carefully, because there's always that one or two clauses in there that's gonna fuck you up in the end there.
Yeah. And in your chat, Not Famous mentioned a couple of things we need to discuss.
Yeah. Yeah, Jerry Lee Lewis. We need to get into that guy, definitely.
That guy that
Probably
married
he
his,
was
what, 15-year-old cousin or whatever she was?
13-year old cousin named Myra. And no doubt he was trying to compete with Elvis when he did that. Because you remember, Priscilla was 15 when she married Elvis.
Yeah.
And
And
obviously
basically, it's, look, I can get
there was
someone
a
younger
life
than
there.
you.
Yeah, and not only that, it's going to be a family member. Now, the
Right.
rest of the world was like, holy cow, what? They presumed that this was sick, this was incestuous, and they just presumed. I mean, story has it that when he came to England, he was questioned a lot by the media and everybody else. But then again, when you look at it, there were a lot of stories, a lot of rumors, a lot of jokes made about cousins married one another in the South area there. We hear these stories all the time, man.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
weird. And
I
then he
know.
also
So,
mentioned Sam Cooke, who, well, let's say he died under mysterious circumstances, but
yeah.
actually, I believe myself that he was murdered by those two girls,
Yeah. Yeah. So
theoretically
yeah,
for
what is
money.
yeah, what
But
is wow. So basically was trying to get money from him, and when he said no, they shot his ass dead.
that's pretty much what I understand about that whole thing.
Well, what
Now,
the hell would he need money from Sam Cooke more? Did he owe them, or was that? Or did he figure he's a star, he should give us money when we don't have none?
well, actually and truthfully, only those two know. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's pretty much, it was a sad story.
Yeah, shot. I guess was shot in a hotel hallway, for all I understand, by one of them.
Yeah, that's pretty much the story I got. And again,
Wow.
it's something that's worth looking into because a lot of times you don't, well, you don't ever get the full story a lot of times from these things.
Yeah,
But
dude. Because a lot of things need to be covered up. Because so suppose that this gets revealed, that gets revealed. I mean, like, suppose. I mean, you got to remember, there's that chance of that one dark revelation coming up, and that's going to probably blow the image that this man had. I mean, Sam Cooke is considered a great crooner, a great singer. He came out with some great songs, as we mentioned the night before, like a Cupid, What a Wonderful World. This would be Twisting the Night Away.
you
You know,
send to me.
just You Send Me, yes. I mean, great songs there. I mean, and to have that tarnished by this revelation about this individual come out, that I guess these managements or companies cannot afford that to happen.
Right.
So who knows? We may never know what really truly happened or what the purpose of this whole ordeal was about. So to the meantime, we have our speculations. People can talk about it, but sadly, we still may never know until the time being.
Well, when we get to the 60s, we'll also discuss Bobby Fuller because
Oh
he,
yeah,
he died
and
under
this.
very mysterious circumstances.
Oh yeah, and I remember hearing about that as well. I was like, geez, what the hell? Question: what is up with these acts? Getting involved with all these underhand doings up there. Was it intentional? Is it on purpose? Or
Well, from what I
what?
understand,
What?
he was trying not to get involved in that, and that's what did him in.
Oh, so basically they want to recruit him into something that he knows that was not going to be good. He tried to avoid that, but the other side was like, no, you're going to be with us, or else either we shoot you, and obviously they end up carrying out that threat.
Well, basically, like I said, we'll discuss that story, but the thing with Bobby Fuller that really gets to me is I was living in El Paso when he was big in El Paso, and he actually lived two houses down from me, and I kind of
Ah,
knew him. I mean, I didn't know him
so
to
he
his.
was another Texas native, I guess.
Yeah, he was about
Ah, nice.
8 years older than me, but I had met him a couple of times and actually got to talk to him a couple of times, which was kind of
Right.
cool. And he was a very nice guy.
Yeah.
And I was really when he died. I'll just say died because, like I said, it's very mysterious what happened. And when we get
Yeah.
to the 60's, we'll talk about it because I'm pretty familiar with the whole thing on that story. And it's a
Yeah.
good read if anybody wants to look it up. It's
Yeah. That's right.
very controversial, and let's just say the Los Angeles Police Department was involved,
I see. Yeah.
and leave it
So
at that.
obviously, all right, because this is going to be a Danny where we discuss that topic soon. Now, also in the chat, we see the name Little Richard, who, as we know,
Right.
passed away earlier this year. He became a full Christian. He did preach the gospel a lot. He led a life. He was a debaucher, one of the original flamboyant rock and roll debaucheries out there. Drugs, homosexuality at times. Do you believe he was really gay?
It's kind of hard to imagine, but I guess it's a possibility.
Because a lot of when he came back, when he made that comeback in the 1980s, he came back as a minister. He was preaching the word of God. I remember one time he presented Prince with a purple covered Bible.
Yeah,
Because he even quoted that Prince, rest in peace, was me of this generation back in the 1980s
yeah,
because of that flamboyantness that Princess displayed at the time was kind of like similar to Little Richard's, but it's a little bit more lacier when you think about it.
right, right,
Yeah. In fact, it's fit to say that it was Little Richard and James Brown that helped shape Prince as well, as along with Jimi Hendrix, in
right.
terms of the shredding that Prince would do on songs like When Doves Cry, Let's Go Crazy, and a couple others, and sort of the song Purple Rain. Like
Well, the funny
I think
thing
was it.
is Eric Clapton was asked once. He said, "What's it be like? What does it feel like to be the greatest guitar player around?" And he says, "I don't know. You need to ask Prince that." So that's
Oh,
definitely a
that
tribute there.
that's a pretty homage right there. It also shows that Clapton doesn't really have that much of an ego,
No, he doesn't. And
because I
well,
know he must have been it felt like kind of awkward when he hears the words Eric Clapton is God. A
yeah, that
lot of
probably
times
bothers
back in the
him.
day. But
I'm
then
sure that
again,
bothers him.
I guess some artists don't really like that. I remember back in the day, Bruce Springsteen hated being called the boss
Yeah,
because he was often nicknamed that, like Bruce the Boss Springsteen at times on posters and stuff. And when it came out in an interview back in '81 saying, "I hate being called boss," that's when they stopped.
right.
So it was just Bruce Springsteen afterwards.
Yeah.
But the boss was one of Springsteen's well-known old-time nicknames there.
And I'm going to mention one other thing about Prince.
Yeah.
If you can find it on YouTube, and I'm sure it's there because I saw it there, was he played in a group of people, I forget which one, and he played the solo on While My Guitar Gently Weeps that if you
I
listen to it, it's
saw
kind of
that.
like,
I saw that. My sister DM'd that clip to me. It was the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Tom Petty, Jeff Lynne, and a couple others paying their tribute to George Harrison. I guess he was abducted to the Hall of Fame there during that time, and of course Prince, who tried to come up with his own Sergeant Pepper in '85 with "Around the World in a Day." You
right.
know, which I guess what I understand was recorded way before the Purple Rain tour of the previous year. He wanted to get that out of the way so he can concentrate on touring for about a year and a half, I guess.
Boy, Not Famous is really giving us material for the 70's.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Man.
really. He's on your chat, I take it, because he only commented 3 times there
Oh,
on
no, they just
mine.
showed up on yours. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
just showed
What?
up. But
Actually, that's been a while. This was right at the after the start of the program here.
But no, he's got four more comments there.
Oh
And
yeah,
when we get there, hopefully he'll be listening so he can remind us if we forget. But he's got
yeah,
three
definitely,
really good ones there.
yeah, definitely, definitely. If you're out there, if not famous, still listening, definitely give us some more hints and stuff in each other's chats here, because
Yeah.
we're on a roll, as you could say.
Well, as we talk about things, I want to encourage anyone that's watching, talk to us in the chat, leave us comments. Uh,
Hmm.
in fact, I'll mention to you now, Dave Rose left a comment about he was sorry he missed Star Trek. And I told him,
Oh
well, we're
yeah,
going to continue that next Wednesday, so maybe
yeah.
we can
The
get him
part
to
two
join
there,
us.
definitely part two will be continued on next Wednesday there.
Yeah.
You know,
But yeah, he
I'm
mentioned some
surprised.
good stuff that, like I said, I hope I remember it when we get to the 70s.
Well, if Dave Rose, if you're listening out there, you should probably call in for a few minutes and give us a take on the some of the stuff that we're talking about in terms of Bobby Fuller, Jerry Lee Lewis, Elvis being filmed from the waist up only on Ed Sullivan's show because of the way he moved his pelvis a lot.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
he
know,
got, what was the show he was on before that?
I think it was Ed Sullivan here that they
No,
did
I mean
this.
before that, where they actually showed his hips, pelvising, and everybody's like,
I'm not too sure
whoa! I forgot the name of
because
the show off the top of my head, but it was
I'm
an
not
early
too
one.
sure. Now, let me ask. I got to bring this up there in regards to Elvis. There's the song "Elvis is Dead" by Living Color, and
Yeah,
there is a "Fight the Power" by Public Enemy, saying Elvis was a hero to many, but he was nothing mean shit to me. The sucker was straight up racist and plain. Motherfuck him and John Wayne. Now, here's the thing. Do you, we need to address this because a lot of people are saying, Elvis ripped off moves from a black man and such, you know, and a lot of those black artists that that he styled his style from never got received no credit. And we're talking about the hardcore black power of people like, as I mentioned, Public Enemy, KRS One, people who follow the Nation of Islam with Louis Farrakhan. Do you think Elvis actually did that rip off these other black artists?
well, I don't think it
Would
was
they
so much
receive
a
no credit?
well, I don't think it was so much a rip off as it was his version,
Interpret, yeah, but
interpret,
it was more like a borrowing,
and actually kind of a semi tribute.
yeah, a homage to them. Like if we're influenced by a singer like you remember how Ozzy Osbourne would do the peace sign with both his hands up and down during his old shows with Black Sabbath.
Yeah,
If we say a guy who sings that, who sees that in the crowd, likes that maneuver, he's going to start doing when he becomes a singer. He's going to start doing that. Now, people are going to be like, either it's paying tribute to Ozzy as a homage, but someone's going to look at that as, why are you ripping off Ozzy Osbourne, man? Do your own thing, dang gummit.
yep,
And the same thing with all these bands like Kingdom Come and Greta Van Fleet, stay being accused of ripping off Led Zeppelin.
yeah. And actually, going back to Elvis, that show that he was on, that they
Yeah.
showed the whole full hip swivel
Yep.
thing, was Milton
Yes.
Berle.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Television.
Yeah,
And it fits to say that Marshall Barrow, who was a relative of Milton, who was the manager for both Rat and Van Halen, and when they got their start in their careers.
yeah,
Yeah, so definitely got to give Marshall his due there. And also Milton Berle for reinventing, getting himself back into the spotlight there after appearing in the Rat video for Round and Round. If you
yeah,
ever saw that video, you know what I'm talking about there. One of the
yeah,
most awkwardly fun moments of that whole video, right then and there.
yeah. Milton Berle was big in his day.
Oh, he was. He was. He's still. Didn't he pass away, or is he still around? I guess.
I think he passed away because he was, and I'm guessing because I honestly, off the top of my head, can't tell you, but I believe so.
I'm looking up right now. Milton Berle, American comedian. Let's see. Right now on the Wikipedia, He was comedian and actor. His entertainment years spanned over 80 years.
Yeah.
He died in 2002 in Los Angeles, California. And he had a
Well,
lot of wives and spouses, no doubt about that.
yeah.
Let's see, his children was William Burroughs, Bob Williams, Victoria Burroughs, and of course we cannot forget Marshall Burroughs, who I mentioned first managed Van Halen, later go on to manage Rat.
Yeah, he almost reached George Burns' age.
Wow, which is about 100. And I believe he kind of like did the same thing with the cigar. I guess it was, pretended to be smoking where he wasn't.
Right, right.
Yeah. That was one of the most notable tricks that George Burns did. Pretend that he was puffing on that cigar, but he would never inhale.
No. Hey, well, I'm thinking about it because the song just popped in my head. Stagger Lee. Do you happen to remember
Mm.
who did that? Was it Lloyd Price or was it someone
Stagger.
else?
Let me look it up right now. Stagger
Because that was a big
Lee.
song.
hmm Stagger Lee, known as Stagger Lee, with variations, a popular American folk song about the murder of Billy Loins by Stag Lee Shelton in St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah,
It was done by Taj Mahal, Lloyd Price.
Lloyd Price. It was Lloyd Price.
Lloyd Price, yeah, Lioy. That was how his name was spelled. And it was also covered by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
And
I
actually, I
understand.
believe that the Grateful Dead did a version on one of their albums.
No surprise there. I guess let's see this. Let me. It's pretty interesting there.
Yeah,
Because
it's
right
it's
now
definitely a
goes to Lee
story.
Shelton. Yeah, definitely a story. He was an American criminal who became a figure of folklore after murdering Billy Loins on Christmas 1895. The murder reportedly innovated part of the theft of Shelton's Stetson hat.
Yeah,
Made Stetson the icon of toughness and style in the minds of early folk and blues musicians, and it also inspired the popular folk song Stagger Lee. The story endures in the many versions of the song that have circulated since the 19th century.
yeah. We also covered that in that group that I was
Yeah.
in. One of the groups I was in.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. I got look us. It got me interested in this guy right now. Now
Oh yeah,
here's something here. Oh yeah, here's something I got to bring up. From 1982 to 1984, two masked professional wrestlers were billed as Stagger Lee in the U.S. Southern region, the territories of that area. Sylvester Ritter, better known as the Junkyard Dog, played him in first Mid South Wrestling, and James Ware before he became known as
Coco
Coco
Beware.
Beware.
And
That's right.
actually, you
Both when
mentioned
you
that. I remember those guys now. I do remember
yes,
that.
yeah, it's pretty interesting out there.
It's amazing
And there
what you
was
can
all
find out.
yeah, and exactly. Well, oh yeah, and let's see here. The Dallas Theater Center in Dallas, Texas, produced original music with the adaptation of the folklore surrounding Stagger Lee and Billy Loins. The characters explore African American history in the northern United States and experienced racism and violence throughout multiple cities. It opened on January 21st, 2015, and it featured Brandon Gill, J. Bernard Calloway, Tiffany Mann, Cedric Neal, and Sagan Sembloff. It's spelled Cenggbloh.
Wow. No,
Uh,
the story is interesting, and the song makes the story interesting.
mhm.
Because if you sit and listen to the words, it kind of describes what happened.
Wow, yeah. Definitely is something to check out there, folks. Definitely worth checking out, along with the stories behind Bobby Fuller and what's that? The Sam Cooke thing. I
Right,
mean, almost slipped my mind there.
right.
Definitely worth checking out there. Let's. All right. In about a few minutes, we'll be ending the program here. I'm going to go, of course, go on with Real as Fuck TV with Minnesota Vikings fan and Minnesota Silver Row. Definitely want to check that out. Everybody listen to this program. Hey, Ark, if you want to join in, feel free to later on if you can.
Yeah, I might do that.
All
What we
right.
might mention before we leave, real quick, is tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
night we're finally going to get to Plan 9 from Outer Space on
Yeah,
our
that's
movie
right. I
show.
got the thumbnail. Yeah, I got the thumbnail ready as I actually last night. I should probably say.
But hopefully we'll finally get into that. And anybody that wants a preview, find
Mm.
it on YouTube and watch it. It's one of those things that you'll sit and watch and go,
What the fuck?
what is this? And then you continue to watch it because you'll start looking for bad stuff because it's all through that movie.
And
And
plus, a lot of times, it's usually the bad movies out there that keeps us intrigued.
yeah, because we just want to go, what were they thinking when they did this?
I know.
This is weird. And
Definitely got to.
we'll get our chance to kind of MST3K it in a way, but not like they do.
All right.
And then that'll conclude this week. Then we'll start again next week. And Monday night we'll recap what we did this week, and then we'll also kind of give you a preview of the next 4 nights and decide
All
what we're
right
going to.
there.
Because after tomorrow we got to decide what movie we want to do next, and there's all kinds of possibilities.
Well,
People, give us some
there's one I want
ideas.
to recommend. There's one I really want to recommend that back when it first came out, I was very intrigued by. It was based on the you remember Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, right?
Right.
Yeah, the comic book series. There was a movie that came out based on her story there that starred Tanya Roberts and Ted Wass there,
Oh yeah,
and
I
Donald
didn't
Scott.
see it, but
I did in the theaters, man. It was
okay.
hardly any people there. It was not back then. I was intrigued by come on, who's not intrigued by a white blonde-haired lady in loincloths? Let's admit it there. That's always one of our big fantasies, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And then later on, when you listen to watch it as a full-blown adult, you're like, who wrote the damn dialogue in this sucker?
Well, it's kind of like if you want to see another bad movie that's really famous from MST3K, it's called
Uh,
Manos, The Hands of Fate.
ah,
That one defines the word horrible. If you look up horrible in the dictionary, they'll have a picture of that movie.
yeah, definitely.
But
Oh
that's
yeah,
an
and we
interesting.
also or Betty, there's another one, a bad one out there, movie out there. We got to discuss Heaven's Gate.
I haven't seen that one. I'm kind of
I neither did I.
reluctant.
For all I understand, it was not that go home to write worth writing home about, and I understand the financial and the situations that went on during that movie as well. So definitely needs to be explored.
Yeah, and then the one more that you and I talked about once before
Yeah.
is Battlefield Earth.
Oh yeah. I still get a trip out of it. Here's Vinny Barbarino looking like a cyber version of Rob Zombie.
Yeah,
Still talking, but he's still talking like Vinny Barbarino.
yeah. So everybody that's
Oh my
listening,
god.
give us ideas so we know which ones we want to go on and talk about.
In
And I,
fact, if you want to, you could probably DM us both on Twitter on our Twitter accounts.
right,
There, mine's the same name, and Arknolia is the same name there.
right.
Definitely find us both there and give us some suggestions. Okay,
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely. And I
All
guess you
right
got to
there.
go. So
All right then. And we'll this will be it, I guess, for today. And once again, tomorrow night, Plan 9 from Outer Space, our analysis of that particular movie there. And for
and
Argnolia and myself, I'm Dr. Earl. You guys have a great one, okay?
and we'll talk to y'all later.
All right, bye bye there.
Bye.
Bye bye.